I'll write a detailed 800-word Part 1 of Understood, ma'am. Humanity's fierce determination in third person with simple Korean names, keeping it interesting while using simple English. Here you go. The stars looked different from the viewing deck of the Ascendant. Commander Hana Kim stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the massive conclave station grow larger as they approached. After centuries of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, first contact had happened just 5 years ago. Now humanity was attempting to join the Galactic Conclave, an alliance of 17 alien species. 2 minutes until docking, Commander, said Officer Min from the control panel. Hana nodded. Is the team ready? Yes, Commander. Everyone is waiting in the departure bay. Hana took a deep breath. This mission would decide Earth's future. The IGI, Conclave controlled most known space, all faster-than-light technology and access to resources humans desperately needed. Their home planet was struggling under the weight of climate change and resource depletion. The ship shuddered slightly as it connected to the station. Hana straightened her dark blue uniform and walked to meet her team. 6 specialists waited. For her, scientists, diplomats, and security officers, the best Earth had to offer. Remember, Hana said to them, we represent all of humanity today. Stay calm no matter what happens. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Beyond it stood 3 aliens, a tall, blue-skinned Athorian with 4 arms, a floating jellyfish-like Vexillian, and a short, furry being that looked almost like an Earth cat walking on 2 legs. Welcome to Conclave Station Alpha, said the cat-like alien in perfect English. I am Coordinator Lee. Please follow me to the Chamber of Introduction. As they walked through the station, Hana and her team tried not to stare at the various alien species they passed. Some looked almost human, while others defied description. The station itself was enormous, with ceilings that reached up at least 30 meters and hallways wide enough for creatures 10 times human size. The Chamber of Introduction was a massive circular room. Representatives from all 17 conclave species sat in rising tiers around a central platform. Hana felt very small as she and her team took their places at the center. The human delegation from Earth may now present their petition for observation status, announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Hana stepped forward. She had practiced this speech hundreds of times. Honored members of the Galactic Conclave, I bring greetings from Earth. We come seeking knowledge, trade, and peaceful cooperation. Though our technology is less advanced than yours, we offer our unique perspective and abilities. We ask for observation status to learn your ways and prove our worth as potential members. A low murmur spread through the chamber. Then the Athorian representative rose from his seat. He was at least 3 meters tall, his blue skin shimmering under the lights. I am Supreme Delegate Kwan of the Athorian Collective, he said in a deep voice. Your species has only recently discovered faster-than-light travel, and that was with technology you found by accident. You have poisoned your planet, fought countless wars among yourselves, and still rely on primitive energy sources. What makes you think you deserve to join us? Hana kept her face calm, though she felt anger rising. We have made mistakes, yes, but we have also created beautiful art, music, and literature. We have overcome countless challenges. We learn quickly and we never give up. Beautiful sentiments, Kwan said with what seemed like a smirk. But facts remain facts. You are barely spacefaring animals playing at civilization. A tense silence filled the room. Hana's team shifted uncomfortably behind her, but instead of showing anger or shame, Hana simply nodded. Understood, sir. She continued her presentation without missing a beat, showing Earth's recent achievements in medicine, renewable energy, and space exploration. When the presentation ended, the conclave members filed out to discuss privately. Only one remained, the floating jellyfish-like Vexillian. It drifted closer to Hana. I am Ambassador Jin, it said in a soft, musical voice. Your response to Delegate Kwan was unexpected. How so? Asked Hana. Most species respond with anger to such dismissal. Some leave immediately, but you simply acknowledged his words and continued. Why? Hana smiled slightly. Humans have faced obstacles before. We don't give up easily. Fascinating, Jin said. Perhaps there is more to your species than some of my colleagues believe. We will watch your progress with great interest. As Jin floated away, Officer Min whispered to Hana, "Do you think we have a chance?" Hana watched the alien disappear through a doorway. "Yes," she said. "They expected us to react emotionally, but we're going to show them something they've never seen before: human determination." 6 months had passed since Commander Hana Kim's first meeting with the Galactic Conclave. The Ascendant had remained docked at the station while preliminary discussions took place. Some meetings went well, while others were tense. The Vexillian ambassador Jin had become something of an ally, quietly explaining alien customs that might confuse humans. But most Conclave members kept their distance, watching the humans with a mix of curiosity and dismissal. Today was different. Hana could feel it as soon as she entered the Grand Chamber. All 17 representatives were present, their seats arranged in a perfect circle around the central platform where she stood. Even the normally absent Zuri representatives, beings of pure energy who rarely bothered with physical meetings, had sent an envoy. "The Conclave has reached a decision regarding Earth's petition," announced the chief speaker, a tall, thin alien with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Hana nodded respectfully. Her team stood behind her, trying to hide their nervousness. "We have determined that humanity is promising, but underdeveloped," continued the speaker. "Therefore, we offer a path to provisional membership, subject to conditions." A holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed detailed schematics for technologies far beyond current human capabilities: gravity manipulation systems, faster-than-light communication devices, and planetary shield technology. "These are the minimum technological requirements for Conclave membership," said Supreme Delegate Quan, the Athorian who had been most dismissive of humans. "Meet these standards, and we will consider your application. You have 3 standard years." Whispers broke out among Hana's team. Officer Tay, her second-in-command, leaned forward. "Commander, this is impossible. These technologies would take us decades, maybe centuries, to develop on our own." Hana studied the schematics carefully. Tay was right. The requirements were far beyond Earth's current capabilities. It was an impossible task, clearly designed to keep humans out of the Conclave for generations. The Athorian was watching her, a small smile on his blue face. He expected her to protest, to show anger, to prove that humans were too emotional and immature for membership. Instead, Hana straightened her back and looked directly at the chief speaker. "Understood, ma'am. Earth accepts these terms." A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. Even Ambassador Jin's tentacles went still in shock. "You understand what is being asked?" Quan pressed. "These are not simple toys or basic machines. Each technology requires mastery of principles your scientists have barely theorized." "I understand perfectly," Hana replied calmly. 3 years. We'll be back." As they left the chamber, Tay grabbed Hana's arm. "What were you thinking? Earth's best scientists couldn't develop these technologies in 3 decades, let alone 3 years. "I know exactly what I was thinking," Hana said quietly. "They expect us to fail. They want us to give up." "Then why agree?" "Because humans don't give up and we don't accept other people's limits." 2 days later, the Ascendant was heading back to Earth. Hana had spent the journey preparing her report. When they landed, she didn't go home to rest. Instead, she went straight to the United Earth Council headquarters in Seoul. "They gave us an impossible task," she told the assembled world leaders, scientists, and military commanders. On the screen behind her, the alien schematics rotated slowly. "They think it will take us centuries." "Then why did you accept?" asked President Lee. "Because we're not going to take centuries. We're going to do it in 3 years." The room erupted in protests and arguments. Hana waited until they quieted down. "I propose Project Leapfrog," she said. "A global initiative unlike anything we've attempted before. Every resource, Every brilliant mind, every facility focused on one goal: meeting these requirements in 3 years. That's insane, said one scientist. We'd need breakthroughs in quantum physics, materials science, energy production. Yes, Hana interrupted, and we'll get them, not by working the way we always have, but by working together in ways we never have before. She looked around the room. The conclave doesn't understand humans. When they say impossible, they mean it. When we hear impossible, we hear a challenge. Slowly, heads began to nod. President Lee stood up. I'm authorizing Project Leapfrog, effective immediately. Commander Kim will oversee the operation. As people filed out to begin the monumental task, Ambassador Jin's words echoed in Hana's mind. Perhaps there is more to your species than some of my colleagues believe. She was going to prove just how right those words were. Dr. Day Park hadn't slept in over 30 hours. His eyes burned as he stared at the holographic display showing his latest failure. For the past 9 months, he had been working on quantum entanglement communication, one of the technologies the conclave had demanded. If they could perfect it, humans would be able to communicate instantly across any distance. No more delays when talking to ships or colonies far from Earth. Another failure? Asked a soft voice. Day turned to see Ambassador Jin floating at the entrance to his lab. The Vexillian had surprised everyone by requesting to observe Project Leapfrog. Even more surprising was that Earth had agreed. Yes, another failure, Day admitted. The quantum link breaks down after 3.7 seconds. Jin's tentacles waved gently. On my world, scientists work in 8-hour shifts. They rest, they see their families. Day laughed. We don't have that luxury. 3 years isn't much time. Yet you try again and again. Most species would have accepted the task as impossible by now. Humans don't work that way, Day said, resetting his equipment. We'll keep trying until we succeed. Across the massive complex that housed Project Leapfrog, Captain Soo Kim climbed into the cockpit of the G7 prototype. It was the 7th attempt at creating a ship that could manipulate gravity, another conclave requirement. The previous 6 had all failed. 3 test pilots had died. Systems check complete, said the technician through Sue's earpiece. You're cleared for takeoff. Sue took a deep breath. Her hands trembled slightly on the controls. Not from fear. She had accepted the risks when she volunteered, but from excitement. If this worked, humans would make a massive leap forward. The G7 rose smoothly from the launch pad. So far, so good. Sue activated the gravity drive. The ship shuddered. Warning. Lights flashed, but instead of shutting down like the previous models, the G7 kept flying. Sue let out a whoop of joy as the ship responded to her commands, bending the gravity field around it. In another section of the complex, Professor Ji Lee worked despite her doctor's orders. The cancer was spreading through her body, but she refused treatment that would take her away from her work. You should be in the hospital, said her assistant Young. I'll go when we solve this, Ji replied, not looking up from her calculations. Besides, I'm more useful here. She was working on the theoretical foundation for planetary shield technology. The mathematics were beyond complex, requiring a completely new understanding of how energy and matter interacted. But what if? Young began. What if I die before completing this? Ji finished for him. Then someone else will pick up where I left off. That's how humanity works. We pass the torch. Jin observed all of this and more. The Vexillian moved through the complex, watching humans push themselves beyond what seemed possible. After a year of observation, Jin prepared a report for the conclave. They continued despite repeated failures, Jin told the assembled representatives via holographic link. When one approach fails, they try another. When a team member falls, another takes their place. They cannot possibly succeed, Quan the Athorian said dismissively. The physics alone would take centuries to master. Perhaps, Jin replied, but they are attempting methods no other species has considered. They work without stopping. They sacrifice personal comfort, health, even their lives in some cases. For what purpose? Asked another representative. Even if they make progress, they cannot meet our timeline. Jin's tentacles moved in what might have been a shrug. They believe they can, and that belief drives them to try things we would never attempt. Back on Earth, unexpected breakthroughs began to emerge. Dr. Park, working with a team from 5 different countries, discovered that quantum entanglement could be stabilized using a method inspired by Earth's ocean currents. Captain Sue's successful flights with the G7 led to rapid improvements in gravity manipulation. And Professor G, still refusing full-time medical care, published a revolutionary paper that reimagined shield technology using principles found in Earth's own magnetic field. 2 years into the 3-year deadline, humanity was making progress that astonished even themselves. Project Leapfrog had grown to include millions of people worldwide, all focused on one goal: proving that when humans said "understood," they meant it as a promise, not just acknowledgement. The explosion ripped through the main research facility of Project Leapfrog at exactly 3:17 in the morning. The night shift had been working on the final test for the quantum communication system when the building erupted in flames. Security cameras caught only a brief flash of blue movement before they went dark. Admiral Hana Kim, promoted after the success of the first 2 years of the project, stood in the rain, watching rescue teams pull bodies from the smoking ruins. 237 scientists and engineers had died. Among them was Dr. Day Park, who had finally perfected the quantum entanglement system just days before. "It was sabotage," said Officer Tay, now Hana's chief of security. She handed Hana a small device recovered from the blast site. "This isn't human technology." Hana turned the twisted piece of metal over in her hands. It had markings similar to Athorian writing. "Can we prove it?" she asked. "Not definitively. But the attack targeted our most successful research division, and only someone with knowledge of alien technology could have bypassed our security." 3 days later, Hana stood before the conclave emergency session. The massive chamber felt cold as the alien representatives looked down at her. "The conclave extends its sympathies for your loss," said the chief speaker. Her color-shifting skin was muted to dark blues and purples, signaling solemnity. "Such violence is deeply troubling." Hana nodded stiffly. "Thank you for your concerns. However, I must ask if the conclave will investigate possible involvement by one of its members." A murmur ran through the assembly. Supreme Delegate Quan stood up, his blue skin darkening with what might have been anger. "You accuse the conclave of attacking your facility? This is outrageous," he thundered. "I make no specific accusations," Hana replied calmly. "I simply request an investigation. The device found at the site uses technology beyond human capabilities." "Perhaps," said another representative. "This is simply a sign that your species is not ready for the challenges of joining our community. The development timeline we provided was ambitious, but the pressures it created may have led to unfortunate accidents." Hana understood the message clearly. Back down, or face more accidents. "Perhaps you are right," she said, her voice steady. "The conclave has seen many species rise and fall. You have wisdom beyond our years." The tension in the room eased slightly. They thought she was conceding. "Understood, Excellencies," Hana said with a small bow. "Earth will consider its position carefully." As she turned to leave, Ambassador Jin floated forward. "Admiral Kim, if I may have a private word?" In a small side chamber, Jin's tentacles moved agitatedly. "You know who was responsible," the Vexillian said. It wasn't a question. "I have my suspicions," Hana replied. "Yet you do not demand justice? This is not the human response I have come to expect." Hana's eyes hardened. "There are many human responses, Ambassador. Sometimes the quietest ones are the most dangerous." When Hana returned to Earth, she expected to find Project Leapfrog in disarray. Instead, she found determination unlike anything she had seen before. Professor G, now confined to a wheelchair but still working, had organized a memorial service for the fallen scientists. At the end, she asked for volunteers to continue their work. Every hand in the room went up. "The families of the deceased have requested to join the project," Young told Hana. "Dr. Park's widow is a quantum physicist herself," She wants to complete his work. Similar stories came from across the globe. For every scientist lost, 3 more stepped forward. Captain Sue, now leading the Gravity Drive Division, had pilots lined up despite the known risks. Why? Hana asked Sue during an inspection. After what happened, why do they still volunteer? Sue smiled grimly. Because now it's not just about proving ourselves to the Conclave. It's about honoring those we lost. No human takes kindly to being told they can't do something, especially when friends have died trying. That night, Hana sent a message to Earth's leaders. Project continues at full speed. Security tripled. New deadline set. We deliver in 8 months, not 12. Let them think they've broken us. In the shadows of the research facility, a small blue device activated, sending a signal to a distant ship. The message was simple. Humans continuing project despite attack. Recommend immediate action. 3 years to the day after the Conclave had given Earth its impossible ultimatum, the Ascendant once again approached the massive station. But this time, it wasn't alone. 3 other ships flanked it, each showcasing one of the technologies the Conclave had demanded: gravity manipulation, quantum communication, and shield systems. Admiral Hana Kim stood on the bridge, looking more tired than she had 3 years ago. The last 8 months had been the hardest of her life, pushing humanity to its limits to meet their self-imposed early deadline. "We're ready to dock, Admiral," said Officer Min. "All ships report ready for demonstration," added Tay from her security station. Hana nodded. "Begin docking procedures, and make sure all data is transmitting properly to Ambassador Jin." The Vexillian had remained Earth's only true ally in the Conclave. In the months following the attack, Jin had secretly provided information about the Athorians' plans, helping Earth avoid 2 more sabotage attempts. The Grand Chamber was full when Hana entered. Word had spread throughout the station about the human delegation's return. Many had come to witness what they assumed would be humanity's failure and humiliation. "Admiral Kim," said the chief speaker, "you return exactly 3 years after our terms were presented. The Conclave recognizes Earth's punctuality, if nothing else." A few laughs echoed around the chamber. Hana didn't react. "The human delegation requests permission to demonstrate our compliance with the Conclave's technological requirements," she said formally. "Granted," said the speaker, a note of surprise in her voice. "Though we expected a request for an extension, not a demonstration." Hana activated her communication device. "Begin demonstrations." Outside the station, Captain Sue's ship suddenly vanished from view, only to reappear on the opposite side of the station 3 seconds later. The gravity drive had worked perfectly, bending space around the ship in ways that even the Conclave found difficult. At the same moment, Professor G's team activated the shield system around the Ascendant. A shimmering bubble of energy surrounded the ship, visible to all through the chamber's viewing screens. "Finally," Hana said, "a demonstration of quantum communication." She pressed a button on her wrist device. Instantly, holographic displays appeared before each Conclave member, showing a live feed from Earth. Dr. Park's widow, Dr. Sun, stood in the control room of the new research facility. "Greetings, honored members of the Conclave," she said, her voice clear despite being transmitted across millions of kilometers without any delay. "As you can see, Earth has successfully developed instantaneous communication across astronomical distances." A stunned silence fell over the chamber. The Conclave members looked at each other in disbelief. Even the chief speaker seemed at a loss for words. Supreme Delegate Quan finally stood, his blue skin pale with shock. This is impossible. You cannot have developed these technologies so quickly." "Yet here we are," Hana replied simply. Ambassador Jin floated forward. "With the Conclave's permission, I would like to address this assembly." The speaker nodded, still too surprised to speak. "I have spent the last 3 years studying humans," Jin said. "What I discovered is remarkable. They possess a trait I have never seen in any other species we have encountered. When faced with what they perceive as injustice, their determination increases. When they lose members of their community, they don't retreat. They advance in honor of the fallen. Jin's tentacles moved in an elaborate pattern. Most telling of all, when they say, understood, it is not merely acknowledgement. It is a promise. The chamber erupted in discussion. Hana stood calmly at the center until the speaker called for order. The conclave must consider this unexpected development, the speaker announced. We will confer and return with our decision. As the representatives filed out, Quan approached Hana. The Ithorian seemed smaller somehow, less intimidating. How? He asked simply. How did your species accomplish this? Hana looked up at him. When someone tells a human something is impossible, we don't hear a barrier. We hear a challenge. Understood? For the first time, Quan seemed to truly see her. I understand. 3 hours later, Earth was granted provisional membership in the conclave. As Hana signed the agreement, she thought of all those who had sacrificed to reach this moment. Dr. Park, Professor G, who had lived just long enough to see the shield, system work, and hundreds of others. Humanity had proven itself not through aggression or dominance, but through something uniquely human. The fierce determination to overcome any obstacle, especially those that others deemed impossible.